You can't cancel capitalism because then your phone doesn't work and your car doesn't work and there's no food and everyone's starving. That's not an option.
Socialism is when no phone. Yeah, well, again, in terms of political economy, Dr. Mike and I are on the exact opposite. We are diametrical opposites. Let's listen to friend of the show, Dr. Mike Israetel.
American adults are obese or overweight, and the solution is always a shot or a pill that somebody is going to cash in on.
RFK.
This is amazing. I'm really excited for this because so many of the fitness people that I'm around love RFK, okay? But they also love Dr. Mike Israetel. So him going after RFK will, I think, truly cause a fissure in the fitness world because a lot of people love Dr. Mike Israetel and see his word as basically religious doctrine. Okay, I'm not even kidding. And they love RFK because RFK is jacked.
Has a Googleable net worth of roughly $15 billion. They will not be taking accusatory notions of someone cashing in being a bad thing from a multimillionaire and not a Kennedy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for RP Strength. I have been a longtime professor of exercise and sports science, and I am a competitive bodybuilder and Blackie Belch, which is Brazilian for black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Cool. And today I will be reviewing the various health and food and fitness claims and practices of a Mr. Dr. RFK. Because if you're a lawyer, you're a Juris Doctorate. So there you go, Dr. RFK. And he's got all sorts of fun things to say. Some of them are a little wacky. Some of them are less wacky. Some of them are actually quite good. Let's dive in and see if we can't science the living crap out of this.
I've literally never heard someone refer to a lawyer as doctor because they have a JD. That's crazy.
Roll camera.
Today, I want to talk about the biggest myth of the national obesity epidemic.
That's not a thing. I mean, technically, he's not wrong. I just think it's funny, but, you know.
Color me excited. Let's see if we align on the myths.
The biggest myth is that if you're obese or overweight, it's your fault.
Yeah. This is a complex topic. There are 3 groups of factors that are very likely responsible for almost all of obesity. The least impactful factor are things like nutritional education, things like do you live in a food desert or not, and many other very small ones that people talk about all the time. And that sort of like 20% eats up all of the other small factors. There are 2 big factors that I think account for up to 80% of the entire obesity epidemic. One factor is that some people have a higher than average genetic, mostly food drive.
Okay.
And that food drive.
No. Those are the most impactful. What? No. I don't think. I personally think the most impact. Dude, this is such a funny conversation because he's not saying that food literacy and access, etc., are not impactful. He's just saying out of the 3 main factors, it's the least impactful. And this is an issue that everyone has their own personal pet peeves with and have their own personal opinion with. If you were to ask me, what do I always say? One of the most impactful aspects of obesity for me is walkability in cities and a car-reliant infrastructure, and also the subsidies that we offer certain types of food and the pervasive lobbying influence over food regulation and food safety in general. So like, I think part of the reason why I feel that way, of course, is because, you know, that's also another thing that I care about, right? Like there are many invisible ways in which people stay relatively leaner in certain countries over others. And that's because of those reasons, right? Like it's not like there isn't, you know, economic inequality or food deserts in England or other places. England's not even a good example, but like in poorer countries overall, they still exist. But like if the structural differences that I just described don't exist in those countries. If people are walking more frequently, for example, they are less likely to be obese.
Is what allows them to find meaning in chasing down tasty foods, eating tasty foods, really liking it, and eating more of them. If you don't have very high food drive, it's difficult for you to become obese because you're just not that excited about eating. If you have very high food drive and the environment is such that you have lots of money relative to the world around you, and food is relatively convenient and cheap and easily available and doesn't require tons of hours to make, then you have a situation where you can kind of checkbox all of your desires and food drive, and then that's an easy way to get obese. So food drive is huge. And if we can reduce food drive, which we can with some kinds of bariatric surgery and with modern anorectic drugs like Ozempic and stuff, that's a really, really, really big deal.
Because at the end of the day, obesity is quite literally caused by putting more fuel in your body than your body is burning. That's it. In the simplest terms, everybody always gets mad when I say this or anyone else says this, but like calories in, calories out, even though it can lead to unhealthy eating disorders for sure, is quite literally just the truth, right? This is such a dumb smart guy take. It's not. It's just the truth. The difference, however, is all of these other factors that no one really, I guess, considers when talking about calories in, calories out. For someone like myself, for example, my metabolism, regardless of my muscle mass, because your metabolism is dictated by a multitude of different factors, like your burn rate, your daily burn rate is dictated by a bunch of different factors. One of it is the lean muscle mass that you have. How much you're using your brain can also factor into it. How fidgety you are also factors into it. And how much you burn in the process of eating to actually use the food that you're eating also factors into it. This is, I guess, like in the most reductive ways, this is how you explain like the amount of fuel that you need for regular operation. And then also, obviously, whether you're sedentary or not and your daily activity. So having said all of that, as someone who quite literally has a incredibly slower metabolism than someone of my size and especially of my muscle mass, I can tell you that it's still calories in, calories out, but that factor still remains. This is precisely the reason why I eat at a deficit, and my deficit is insanely low in comparison to someone else that would be a 33-year-old man who happens to have my level of my level of daily exercise and is basically doing the same. For me to be at a deficit, I need to eat less than 2,000 calories a day on 2 days of the week, and then under 2,400 calories a day for the rest of the week. Okay, that is insane, and I have to do that while still maintaining at least 220 grams plus of protein every single day. This is why my diet is the way that it is. This is why I eat a ton of grilled chicken breasts. Okay, are you okay while working out? That's crazy. Well, it is what it is. It's just the reality. But my point is, if I can maintain that deficit, which I can, and I do, I have lost all of this weight, right? That's why I'm a much leaner person now. Negative net calories without functional movement leads to atrophy. It's not beneficial even for people dealing with obesity. They're just not losing fat when on GLP-1 drugs. They're losing muscle mass and bone density as well. Yes, that is also true. This is part of the reason why I never even thought about using Ozempic. How do you get that much protein? Because I'm struggling. It's super easy for me. I love chicken. Yes, and you're not wrong. It is 40% of my daily caloric intake is protein. Sometimes more than 40% of my daily caloric intake is protein. And I do have to supplement with other additional supplements like fiber and whatnot in an effort to make sure that I have enough of the good stuff. Like 2 days ago, it was 45% of my entire daily intake was protein at 260 grams of protein, 42 grams of fat, which was 17%, and then 38% of carbohydrates at 216 grams. So I went way over on my protein consumption on that day. I went over by 38 grams of protein on my protein consumption on that day. And I actually stayed around 2,000 calories for that day. Think about that. So how often do you eat dessert? Every day. I eat dessert every day. I love dessert. You can do all of this within a incredibly low deficit. I do. Didn't Jeff Nippert say you can't go over your protein? Like there's no limit. Am I wrong? Well, I mean, there's no hard limit. Like there's a bottom. You can't go under a certain level of protein. Everyone's different, but you certainly should not go under a certain level of protein. But if you go way above and beyond, it is what it is. Some days I eat less protein, some days I eat more. So that's why I try to, manage it that way.
You can also modulate food drive with food choices, a little bit more difficult to do, but definitely possible. So it's all the rest, food drive, and then conscientiousness is a trait. It's one of the ocean big 5 personality traits. Everyone has a little bit, a decent amount, or a lot of conscientiousness on average. And conscientiousness is kind of like, how do you think of you and the world around you? Are you more meticulous and careful and organized? Do you plan ahead? Do you care about your health? Are you willing to delay gratification to do that?
Okay, I wouldn't say this is the most significant factor contributing to obesity as an epidemic, because it would imply that over the years that like America has become less conscientious, or that their elevated genetic food drive has just increased for some reason, because it's not like America was always as obese as it is now. And I would say that the factors are structural way more than it is like down to the person's individual takes.
Not so fun things now, like eat with really good healthy foods you might not want. You want pizza rolls, but you're like, I know that's bad for me, so I'm going to put that off and eat that only occasionally. I'm going to make good choices. I'm going to follow a diet. I'm going to stick to a training plan, et cetera, et cetera. Trait conscientiousness has such a huge effect on that for whatever amount of food drive you have, if you have moderate even food drive, high degree of conscientiousness can keep you free from obesity because you just stick to the stuff that doesn't make you obese. If your food drive is insanely high, even high degree of conscientiousness can't keep up with that, and it just takes so much energy and so much stress, you might not be able to. You'll still be overweight. If you have low food drive, you're probably not going to be obese in any case because you just don't eat enough. You guys all have that friend that like has a chip and is like, I'm good. And you're like, what?
Yes, I do. I hate them. People who are like, dude, you don't understand. I can't gain weight. I had like 5,000 calories yesterday. And then you look at what they're eating and it's like, dog, you literally just had one hamburger for lunch. No fries on the side. You literally took off half the in the hamburger, no bacon on the burger, no avocado slice, no egg on the burger. And you're over here like talking about how many calories you're consuming. No milkshake either. Get the out of here. Okay. No, you're not eating enough. That's it. You're just not eating enough. You're not eating enough. And I'm jealous. Okay. You're not eating enough. And I'm jealous. I wish I could stop myself. I wish I could have one chip and be done. I wish I could have. The worst is pizza. The worst is pizza. Motherfuckers who can eat 2 slices of pizza and be done with it, I think you are the devil. I think there is something wrong with you. Okay? I'm going to be honest with you. If you can eat 2 slices of pizza and stop eating pizza at that point, I think we are not the same type of organism. We are not living on the same planet. We are not the same type of organism. It's literally cheese and bread, okay? It is the easiest thing to consume. It demands you to eat the entire thing, okay? It's just sitting there. It's going to get cold. Actually, it's even good when it's cold, okay? How have they made such an invention? If you are the type of person who's like, nah, I'm good, 2 slices and I'm good, if you could stop at 2 slices and not eat the entire pizza, I don't know how you do that. Okay? I don't know how you can stop at 2 slices. I'm not even going to bring up the 1 slice people because I don't even think they're people. You're a lizard. If you can eat 1 slice of pizza and be done with it, you're a lizard. If you can eat 2 slices of pizza and be done with it, you're weird. Maybe not the same species, but definitely, maybe you're not an alien. Okay? I don't get it. But that's just me. A discipline. Shut up. That is not discipline. It's magic. Okay? Anyone that says, oh, it's discipline, shut up. Okay? That is not discipline. It is an entirely separate thing. I do not want to hear that this is some really good, this is something that you worked hard to achieve. You. No, you didn't. You did not work hard to achieve that, okay? You did not work hard to achieve that. It's privilege and you should know it. Yeah, the type of people that eat the type of people whose home you go to and they got the same bag of chips for a week. What are you doing? How is that possible? You know when sometimes you get a order of chips and they send you those little clips? What's that for? For the longest time, I didn't even understand it. What do you mean? A clip? What am I supposed to do with this? Am I supposed to eat the clip? Why are you giving me a clip? If I open a bag of chips, I'm going to eat the bag of chips. That's what it's for. What do you mean there's a clip? What is that? Who is that for? I don't understand it. Who is eating a bag of chips not to completion and going, that's enough for me, gotta clip it. I'll take it one step further. There's those weird TikTok ads that come up sometimes where it's not even a clip. It's a way to cut the bag of chips and then automatically reclose it. And it's who is having this big of a problem not completing a bag of chips that they had to go out and purchase a goddamn thing that they found on the TikTok shop to cut the bag of chips, to cut it and then reclose it? It does not make any sense. Let's get back to Dr. Mike Israetel.
How do you have just one? That's just what they were born into. But if you have relatively low conscientiousness, you're kind of just YOLOing your whole life, and you have a high food drive, which means you like to eat a lot of really tasty foods, and a lot of them. And in our current environment, in the entire modern world, there's so much ubiquitously available, convenient, super delicious food that is high in calories. You have low conscientiousness and high food drive, you're almost certainly going to be obese. And that right there describes the entire reason approximately for why anyone of a given person is or isn't obese. It's a combination of some other factors which are important, and then massive contributor of food drive, massive contributor of conscientiousness to modify how you express that food drive. That's really the big thing. And I'll talk about it a little bit.
My fiance keeps unfinished bags of chips for 3 to 4 weeks. You don't have a fiance. You have an alien invader. Okay, I'm sorry to break it to you, chatter. That is a different species, okay, that came here to planet Earth to basically take over. Good luck, okay? Your fiance, your future wife, is not a human being, but a alien. If you can keep a bag of chips for 3 to 4 weeks, I don't think we are living on the same planet, okay? You came from a different planet on a spaceship. That's insane.
Why obesity used to be, with roughly similar degrees of conscientiousness and similar degrees of food drive, why generations ago obesity was hardly ever a problem. I'll just say it now. It's because over time, people, on average, have gotten so much wealthier, especially poorer people. The bottom fifth of all the poorest Americans in any 5-year time span have been getting wealthier on average compared to all the products and services they could buy. Used to be in the 1950s that if you were bottom 20% of poor America, there's lots of convenient, fun foods at the store that you really could not afford. And so you just didn't consume them, and you just did not develop obesity because you could neither consume them hardly at all or certainly in enough quantity to make you obese. Nowadays, in the 2020s, our poorest people in the United States.
No, I don't agree with this. That's not true. There's definitely still food that was easily accessible and consumable. Maybe not to the same degree. Maybe there wasn't the same diversity of choice as exists now, but there was still plenty of calorically dense food that you could easily consume. That you could easily consume in the 50s as well, regardless of your financial status. He's not saying that poor people are wealthier. He's technically saying that even if you're a poorer person in the United States of America in 2025. You have access to goods and commodities now that a rich person had access to in the 50s only, which to a certain degree is correct, but it doesn't matter because high calorie food was still pervasive even back then. Food in the 50s was ass, bruh. I mean, you're not wrong, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about food taste. We're talking about chatters. Do you think that healthy food tastes bad and bad food, like, unhealthy food tastes good, and that's why people get fat? Are you stupid? It has everything to do with caloric density. Okay? It's just calories. Okay? That's it. It's calories. More people were rural back then. You didn't have access to 9 different fast food chains within a mile. The proliferation of unhealthy food started in the 50s. Fast food was not a thing then. So yeah, food quality was way better. I would go so far as to say it wasn't that it was like more expensive. I think that it was, I don't know if it was like access to higher calorically dense food was like it really opened up the floodgates. I'm sure that played a role in it, obviously, because food processing and the production of food has significantly improved since then. But once again, why not look at all of these other countries that also had the same exact technological advancements? Why have they not been impacted in the same way? Do you see what I'm saying? Other countries fat too? Yes, everyone has gotten fatter. This is true. Having said that, however, there are obviously countries that are spectacularly fat versus countries that are nowhere near as fat. And I don't think it's because of control. I don't think it's because of self-control at all.
States and many other countries around the world, even in Mexico, which used to be a poor country 20, 30 years ago, but now is a very middle-income country. In those kinds of situations, people now, even the poorest people, have so much money and food costs relatively so little that they can afford to buy, for the first time ever, increasing numbers.
I mean, food costs relatively little. I mean, that's like, if that's the case, like literally every Japanese person would be obese. Every Chinese person would be obese. Food is insanely cheap and insanely affordable in both Japan and China and many other Asian countries. In comparison, especially to America, right? And in America, food is very cheap too, still, all things considered, regardless of the egg prices right now. He's absolutely completely wrong about the conscientious being a primary driver. This is a very complicated phenotype driven by a huge range of psych factors and biofactors. You're right on calories in, calories out, sort of, but there are many things about what you eat, how it's absorbed, and how it changes things internally that impact your basal metabolism as well. Bad food is cheap. Fresh food is not inexpensive. No, man, bad food got infinitely more available and less expensive in the past 50 years. Didn't you buy $1 million melon? No, it was $100, and it wasn't that good. The problem in Mexico is also walkability. Food is affordable, but kids don't walk just because it's not safe. My parents drove me everywhere, and I wasn't allowed on the street until I was 15.
Junk food, for lack of any better term, junk food. And that's what's making us fat. So that really is almost the entire determining factor for why obesity has been rising. I'll get into that more. Let's see what RFK has to say here.
Today, 3/4 of American adults are obese or overweight, including 40% of American teenagers.
That's roughly accurate.
Back when I was growing up, childhood obesity was almost unheard of.
There's just a very simple reason for that. People didn't have enough money to indulge convenient, super highly palatable, super calorie dense, delicious foods. And those foods were neither as cheap relatively, even for how much money people had, nor were they as ubiquitously available. There just wasn't a place to go in the 1940s where you could reliably get all the junk food you wanted right away in 50 different varieties. Like the modern grocery store is goated. It's undefeated. You just didn't used to have that kind of thing. And it was more expensive and people had less money. Those three factors, people had less money, shit was more expensive, and way less available ubiquitously, is really the reason fundamentally why obesity was lower back then and more now. And I want to say this now because it sets the tone for the rest of the video. The reason lots of people are obese is from overeating junk food. Guys, that's it. Okay. All the other candidate hypotheses he's going to throw out are almost certainly going to be either exaggerated or false. That's it. Now, does that mean we blame people? Blame is a weird concept. Do people have some responsibility for what goes into their mouth? Yeah. Does that mean they're infinitely powerful against the really high food drive or the availability of tasty foods everywhere? No. People are flawed, but it's okay to say, look, part of this is on you, part of this is on other stuff, but this is really what it is. And the real core variable is you just eating too much BS and super tasty foods that have crap tons of calories in them and you just aren't doing enough about restricting yourself from that. That really is why obesity happens. I'm not coming at this from a right wing or a left wing perspective. This is just base reality. And we have to work with base reality if we're going to have some good solutions. He does propose some stuff. Some of it's not great stuff because it's not.
My mom also has been making this new thing where I think she saw it on like Instagram Reels or something. I don't know where she found this, but it's a cottage cheese and like 2-egg muffin style situation that she makes. It's like super high in protein. And I put some peanut butter and some jelly on it, and it's decadent. Or it's like she makes a cottage cheese bread, and it's really good. No, I don't use protein peanut butter. I use regular peanut butter. I'm not that crazy.
Dealing with base reality. Just real quick, is it true as a rule that processed foods are worse? It's true on average, but not as a rule. Why? There are different ways to process foods, and the eventual food is really the arbiter of, is it good for you, bad for you, or somewhere in between. The processing itself matters. So for example, if you're processing foods by getting way more sugars into them, way more fats into them, way more preservatives into them, and making them ultra, ultra, super, super tasty, so tons of calories and tons of taste enhancement, then that kind of processing will lead people to eat more of the food and get fatter and get into poor health. So that kind of processing, which is like most food processing, is not great. There are other kinds of food processing.
He's right about that.
Actually enhance the qualities of foods and get us the foods to be more what we like. For example, if you take milk and you remove the carbohydrates, you remove the fats, and you keep in one of the two proteins, either whey or casein, what you get is a whey or casein protein supplement. And that's very highly processed, but very, very good for your health. And if you're trying to control calories, it's better for your health than whole fat, whole carb milk. So there, it increases the actual value. And you have processing down to a very fine-grained level to accomplish very specific things. For example, one of the supplements that I use pretty consistently is called Element. And we got a code and link in the bio and all that stuff. But what it does is it just jams a crap load of really correct ratios of electrolytes into a little packet. You pour it in to your workout shake, and having more electrolytes lets your workout shake get into your bloodstream faster. It keeps you hydrated and rehydrated better so that you can have better repeat performances during and after the session. And so it's all good all around. Like Element is insanely processed. It's only processed.
If you eat right, you shouldn't eat supplements. Yeah, that's silly. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let me eat so much red meat that I die early so that I can get a sustainable amount of creatine. It don't work that way. What are your subs? I don't take a lot of supplements. I don't even use pre-workout. My pre-workout is a double shot of espresso that I make on the Nespresso machine. Red meat is not inherently unhealthy. It's part of the big picture. What are you talking about? I'm talking about a level of creatine that I take from isolated creatine that would be impossible to consume without actually eating too much red meat. Raw dog and weightlifting is wild. I've been doing it for years, and I do it fasted too. For years now. My point is, there are certain supplements that you just need. Okay, especially if you're weightlifting. Other supplements I take are fish oil because I don't eat any seafood. And I need it. And then what else? Like I take like ashwagandha, magnesium. I don't know if they're fucking good or not, but I just take it. Don't really care. And then I have protein shakes. This chatter has not stopped spamming that Dr. Mike is a libertarian capitalist. I know, dude. I know. I don't care. I don't care. Okay? What made you think that every single content creator I watch on this broadcast was supposed to be completely aligned with my worldview? Please. Okay? I got it. I know. I don't care. Please stop. Why are you guys like this? It's so strange. Your desired body type isn't just healthy, though. No, I think my desired body type is pretty healthy. What? What are you talking about? I might look to the likes of Sam Silek with admiration. That doesn't mean I'm trying to get there. Very clearly, I'm not. it's not like I could achieve that anyway, but I'm, I would need definitely some medical enhancement. Yeah, my desired body type is just healthy, athletic, have a lot of functional muscle, which I do. I have it. And lower body fat percentage. I think they meant that you want more than just pure health. You want a particular aesthetic. Yes. But to be fair, I like that particular aesthetic that I want is healthy. Not like an unhealthy aesthetic.
Processed. But because it's all the right salts in combination with a few flavorings, it's super at least neutral for your health. And in the context of enhancing sport performance and promoting hydration, it's actually really great. As long as you're not salt sensitive and you don't have a blood pressure issue, you're good to go. So check out Element. That's a really dope thing to check out. But just as an illustration, not all processed foods are bad, but the processing that's not great is if it's making the food super high in calories, super tasty, and you're not controlling yourself. That's how processed food is bad, and that's a totally valid thing.
Today, they tell you that you have obesity, like it was some kind of contagious disease. They treat it as if your body malfunctioned, and they give you a shot to control it.
Yeah, he's mad about Ozempic, dude. Like, if RFK Jr. makes Ozempic illegal, I am going to lose my mind. Okay? I am perhaps the greatest advocate of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the like outside of people that actually use it. Okay? You cannot be a dude who takes TRT and weird ass peptides and simultaneously act like Ozempic is bad, you animal. It makes me so, it angers me to no end. Okay? Burada. Dur. Bir dakika veriyorum.
RFK just said they'll give you a shot to control it. The thing is that a ton of high palatability, very delicious foods for very cheap, very conveniently, you apply that to people with any given food drive genetically. And the people with a high food drive, they get real fat. People with average food drive, they gain weight, but they don't get super fat, just a little overweight. The people with low food drive, it basically hardly affects them at all or actually brings them up to a healthier weight because otherwise they would be like morbidly thin. What are we supposed to do about that? Almost everybody knows you're not supposed to be eating junk food. They do it anyway. They don't care. Guys, we have a giving.
Gotta be real. I brought 3 months of Ozempic in a moment of weakness for my birthday, and I've just left it sitting in my fridge for a series of reasons, primarily because with RFK leading the Department of Health, I don't want to develop a dependency on it and then have to stop cold turkey. What do you mean a moment of weakness? Why is it a moment of weakness? What the are we doing? Why are we demonizing healthcare? Why are we demonizing medicine? It is not a moment of weakness, okay?
Giving a problem in America. We do not have a knowledge problem in America. And
you don't get addicted to Ozempic, chatter? No, I understand what the chatter is afraid of. If your access to Ozempic is cut after you've been using it, you're cooked. That is not a lie. You will not only bounce back on your weight, but you will gain more weight after stopping it. This is true. My parents told me Ozempic paralyzes your stomach. Is that fake? No, it's not. Stomach paralysis can happen to some people. What if Denmark stops selling it to the U.S. over Greenland? Okay, don't even joke about that, bro. Oh my God. This country is so cooked. We literally have the capacity to combat one of the most major health epidemics in the United States of America, which is obesity, which is tied to so many other health complications as well. And right at the precipice of this medical discovery, okay, this marvel of modern medicine is right there in the periphery, and it's like entering the American marketplace right now, and then Donald Trump's gonna come in and dude, oh my God, why you talk shit my country, Georgia, we not state, we proud country, we turkey up. Georgia, F-U-X Russia. Georgia wishes it could Russia over to the same degree as Turkey does on a regular basis, okay? Georgia wishes it had half, not even half, a fraction of the smoke that Turkey delivered to Russia. Literally, okay, American chatters, don't listen to what I'm saying, okay? This is not for you. American chatters, European chatters, this is a periphery of the USSR conversation only, okay? Close your ears. You're not hearing what I'm saying right now. Earmuffs. Okay? Georgia wishes it had half of the smoke. New favorite chatter. Hope he's as funny as Moldovan Mama Liga. Yeah. Moldova is another country that wishes it had. I own home. I live more better than fat Ameripigs. Okay, that part is true. Say thank you, Stalin. It's true. He is right, though. Georgia mogs America on home ownership rates, which is the only statistic that they're better than America on, it seems. Also, less obesity, too. Less diabetes, at least. Significantly less diabetes. Ozempic and TRT are morally the same if you want to judge change in the physique, but in regards to the harm they inflict, you can compare. TRT can be much better. Ozempic helps obesity, but at what price? What the f are you talking about? TRT can be obviously given to people as medication when you have significantly lower levels of testosterone, that it's unhealthy. But in terms of like the average obese person using Ozempic is infinitely better than TRT in that vein. What? Ozempic addresses a health issue. TRT makes you brolic if you have normal levels of T. I say this as someone who wants to take testosterone, wants to do testosterone replacement therapy eventually if I get to a degree. What? TRT, if done right, is a life changer. Ozempic in regards to harms is worse. No, it's not. You're absolutely wrong about this. Every drug that you take has side effects. TRT is definitely not rid of any side effects. The apt comparison is between the health impacts of Ozempic and obesity, not Ozempic and TRT. Yeah. Having a pro-steroids anti-Ozempic chatter is crazy. It's not. You're just describing the fucking RFK Jr. constituency.
Some of these folks, they just kind of want to eat the normal foods that are around, which a lot of them are super delicious, but not have to super rigidly like spend all of the focus controlling them and dealing with hunger pangs. So for those folks, especially ones that have gotten used to a diet of high palatability foods, you give them the shot, Ozempic, tirzepatide, whatever it is you want to do, and they lose weight because now all of a sudden their food drive, their food noise comes down.
Yeah, this part, I don't agree with the initial thing that he was talking about with respect to like people's personal choices are the major reason why, you know, obesity is a real problem in America or whatever. But because it is ultimately about food drive, right, which can be impacted by multiple different factors, it is ultimately your capacity to consume food, whether you're an emotional eater or whatever, right? Like your food drive definitely plays a role in you gaining weight. And if GLP-1 agonists are stopping that food drive for one reason or another, yes, it is going to cause you to eat less food, regardless of your financial situation. And yeah, you're gonna lose weight as a part of that process.
Substantially, psychologically. It's a real effect. And the shot works better than anything we've ever tried outside of surgery. In a statistical application level, it works better than diet and exercise. Now, ideally, the shot is combined with diet and exercise, and then it's a killer.
Yeah.
But even by itself, it works better than just diet and exercise because people can sustain it longer. They don't quit as often, and it has really, really big effects. So until we can get a handle on obesity, and we also know that the average side effect profile of semaglutide, tirzepatide, et cetera, versus the risk profile of continuing to be obese is probably like a 99-to-1 trade-off of risk-reward, reward to risk, rather. So if someone's like, well, I don't know, the shot has side effects. Do you know what the side effects of obesity are? Let me list every single disease we know that is caused or potentiated excessively or has morbid outcomes with obesity. It's not a controversy. So until and unless we get this major problem of obesity under control, take the shot. You don't have to take the shot, but if it's an option, we as politicians and people of public note and people trying to teach each other science should not be poo-pooing the shot in most cases, because you got a solution for me that's going to work. It is not endocrine disrupting chemicals. It's not most of the other stuff he's going to say in the video. The shot is a straight killer. It works. And it works, guys, because it doesn't touch your conscientiousness. It absolutely touches your food drive. And if it reduces your food drive, it makes you lose weight. That's it. That's it. And a lot of the people judging fatter people for needing the shot, they're just the ones that got lucky and got really good food drive genetics and aren't really tempted to eat a lot of snacks. So the shot works. And until we have something that works better, let's not kibosh the shot. On a trade-off, it works exceptionally, exceptionally well.
What they're ignoring is a food supply that's loaded with high fructose corn syrup.
High fructose corn syrup is not any more obesogenic than any other kind of sugar that's been studied. Definitely cane sugar and all that other stuff. It has a slightly higher fraction of fructose.
You guys just don't understand that there are people who can't easily lose weight through just diet and exercise alone. There are other factors, yes, but at the end of the day, okay, here's the reality, okay? If I lock you in a room and I control everything that you eat, even if you don't move, and I give you less calories during that day, okay, you are going to lose weight. That is the reality. That's the reality. You don't have to exercise, not even a little bit, okay? This is true. Having said that, those other factors are obviously incredibly important. And I say this as someone who has lost all of this weight and has gained it back in the past as well during COVID and then lost it again. Okay? Yeah. If I it's not an exact science, but if I give you less food than your body needs to, sustain itself, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose a lot of muscle mass. You're going to lose bone density. Your everything's going to atrophy. It's probably going to your psyche, okay? But you're going to lose weight because that's what it is at the end of the day. But this is a major problem because that is the truth. And yet so many people that recognize that truth will consistently just say, oh, you just stop eating food, fatty. Like, that's an idiotic way to address the problem, okay? This is why I get so sensitive, I guess, about Ozempic in general or Wegovy or whatever, GLP-1 agonists, because it is right now the most effective way of curbing your appetite. Then stop suggesting it. There is never even once in my life that I have suggested that. Okay? You are insane. I have talked about weight loss, eating disorders, weight gain, healthy diets a million times over on this broadcast. Okay? Calories in, calories out is not my suggestion. I'm just addressing the truth. Okay? I hate that people stop legitimizing calories in, calories out. I'm not legitimizing it. It is just the truth. Okay? It is just the truth. Whether you want to recognize it or not, it is the truth of the world. Okay? It is the truth of your body. Having said that, however, no, it's not. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't do this. It's funny because we're having a literal conversation about like a quack, like RFK Jr., and what you're doing right now is literally RFK Jr. shit. Okay? Either you are doing vaccine denialism at this point, okay? You are denying thermodynamics. Stop saying it's oversimplified. It is counterproductive. It's because it's not that simple. And I'm literally addressing why people that say, oh, it's calories in, calories out, stop eating the food, are wrong. As from my own personal experience as well. Just don't use the phrase, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your eating disordered ass is getting triggered when I say a fact about basic human body dynamics, okay? I'm not going to respond to you any further. Jesus Christ. Be normal. Calories in, calories out is correct, but the factors that stop people from eating or what kind of choices they're making, or even all of the many different ways in which you actually burn more calories throughout the day through a less sedentary lifestyle, like if you are not living in a car-reliant infrastructure, is... Hasan, you literally have an eating disorder? Okay, sure, I do, okay? All of these other factors are so consequential, which is precisely the reason why America has a unique problem with obesity in comparison to other countries, okay? That's it. That's why, yes, if you were to lock someone in a room and feed them a certain amount of food and maintain a caloric deficit every single day, they would inevitably lose weight no matter what. Even if they didn't work out, they would lose weight. It just depends on how severe the caloric deficit is at that point. It would be incredibly unhealthy, however. Okay? This is why Ozempic is good, and by my estimation. It's good because it basically forces your brain somehow to not eat as much. Ignore these shadows. I kept a weight loss journal and set my caloric deficit to 1,500 calories. I'm 6 foot, 216. And in the span of 2 months, I got down to 207. I'm lazy as hell, so I lost all this weight just chilling and doing normal shit, no exercise. Your diet is extremely crucial to your weight loss. Yes, You cannot outwork your diet in normal circumstances. You could outwork your diet, but you'd have to do insane levels of exercise
than regular normal table sugar does. And it seems to not affect a whole lot of anything. It is subsidized, so it's cheaper than normal, which we'll come back to in a bit. It is a little bit of a problem, but a very small problem because, again, nobody's stuffing high fructose corn syrup down your gullet. Any one of you can go to the store right now and buy exclusively fruits, veggies, whole grains, canned beans, canned veggies of all kinds, reduced fat meats, and eat for super cheap, very high quality diet. It's not going to be the tastiest thing in the world. It's not going to be obesogenic. You're almost certainly not going to gain weight off it. You'll probably lose weight. So there's no one pushing corn syrup onto you. They just put it into a bunch of snack foods that are really cheap that you're buying. You're not the victim here, folks. It's your work.
No, I think that absolutely is wrong. You are the victim. Okay? Saying that it's simple impulse control and just like put it aside is crazy. Especially because it's in everything. And a responsible government is supposed to ensure that it's not in everything. Okay? If they put cocaine in all of the meat tomorrow, okay, and everyone became addicts, we wouldn't be like, oh, well, it's your fault. Don't eat crack meat. Okay? You'd be like, no, that's crazy. The government's putting crack in the meat. Please stop, government. What the f-? Look no further than the opioid epidemic in this country. Right? The opioid epidemic is a decent analog. The government did not regulate these drugs that were highly addictive. The people that were developing these drugs basically set up an entire process where they could mass produce it and farm it out as aggressively as possible. Okay? And look where we're at now. An entire marketplace, a massive, robust marketplace filled to the brim with people who are addicted to opiates and desperately looking for more. That is the fault of the government. That is a systemic problem. And I see corn syrup and not even just corn syrup, but just like the regular, readily available, highly calorically dense food that is delicious and tasty to be in the same vein. This government is completely captive and completely servile to corporate interests. And that is the reason why American diets are the way that they are. And that a decent amount of regulation is an absolute necessity if we were to genuinely improve American health across the board. It should, I unironically think it should be like virtually impossible to like, if not illegal, basically impossible to sell and consume like a Baskin Robbins milkshake. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, a lot of Americans would probably kill me at the thought, but like if you as a food provider are making a 4,000 calorie milkshake, you should be going to jail. Okay? If you make a 4,000 calorie milkshake, like you are actively trying to kill people. I will treat you like a serial killer. It's insane. And I say this as someone who has consumed a decent amount of milkshakes in my life, okay? It is crazy. It's so tasty. It's so delicious. It is the absolute worst thing. Literally, shut up, Hasan. This is wrong. You're wrong. Bro, shut the f up. This is your stupidest opinion I've ever heard. Wait, what? What is... He's like, nah, dude, I want a 4,000 calorie milkshake. Shut the f up. If you come after, I'm Mr. Robbins of the Baskin Robbins franchise. If you come after my wares, I will kill you. I'm sending a drone strike to your house. Milkshake defenders, Americans, dude. It's like, don't touch the burger. Americans, when you come after Burger Shake. Bad take, that's like banning porn because you personally have an addiction to it. I mean, considering that I don't have these milkshakes at all, and considering that I actually regulate my food intake, I think it would be kind of wrong for me to make this assertion. For me to say like, oh, I can't control myself, so it should be illegal. Don't you think that that's kind of stupid? As you literally know that for a fact that I have a pretty airtight diet. Like I very clearly can deal with it. It's something that I can, readily consume at this very moment and choose not to. How do you counteract this take with your broader take that America is good for his trees? Wasn't the 40 flavors of Oreos when you saw when visiting your grandma the impetus that made you realize, holy shit, I want to be an American? Yes. Diversity of treats is entirely different than, going a little too far. Just because I think it's good to have diversity of choice, a diverse option of like different trees. Doesn't mean that there aren't areas that you can improve through regulation in terms of like what those treats are being made. It's like saying, oh, you like shooting guns and you say that they should be, you like shooting guns. So that must mean you want every American to have a nuclear weapon or something. The truth is that many Americans assume that the food they buy is relatively safe, but hundreds of ingredients in them aren't properly studied and only gain the ability to enter foods use the grass loophole. Fam, pull up the nutritional facts for a Baskin Robbins Oreo shake so everyone can see. It's like, it has like 3 days worth of saturated fat, 263 grams of sugar. Yeah, it is a literal bioweapon. I didn't realize weight was such a political issue. Every issue is political. I want to know what that one chatter was saying that was like, I will kill you. Your take is so bad. The 48-month subscriber. Anyway,
world to live in. You can have assistance from pharmacology. You can have assistance from nutritional education. But a lot of your assistance is going to come up from up here and be like, I need to make better choices. Sorry, I'm not a politician, so I get to say shit like that.
And seed oils.
Scott, hurt me.
There it is.
I got to feel.
It's not actually a big deal. I just like milkshake, Lamau. Every American, dude. Every American. This is the same idea as drug prohibition. It's just going to make people want these milkshakes more. I didn't say no milkshake, man. Calm the down. I am a major advocate of affordable, healthier, affordable, healthier alternatives. That is how I've been able to also basically maintain my diet. Okay. I promise you, if there was a limit to, you know, some of the things that you can consume on a daily basis, and they were substituted with like healthier alternatives, like higher protein alternatives, for example, like a protein shake that still tastes pretty good. I promise you, maybe the first month people would be very upset, but they'd get over it.
That's your trigger. There's my trigger. Guys, seed oils have caused reliably in the scientific literature no detectable health maladies, accounting for their extra calories that they put into your food.
I also use milkshakes as an example because it's the greatest example of just like the thing you can consume. If you want to gain weight, or if you want like the maximum amount of calories with like minimal satiation of hunger, drink a shake. Okay. It's just pure sugar and fat. There's a little bit of protein in it too, but it's just mostly sugar and fat. Okay. It is so easy to put down. It's so unimaginably easy to put down. Okay. And I say this as someone with a massive sweet tooth. You're literally drinking a drink, and that drink has like 1,000 calories in it. It's crazy.
Seed oil hypothesis is dead in the water. It's dead in the water. Seed oils cannot be reliably linked to any bad outcome. They just can't. And if you have a group of rigorous studies to send me, dope. If you say, yeah, but all these guys are bought and sold, sweet. Do you have your own independent agency that's going to do very, very objectively transparent research? I would love to see it. So far, all attempts of that have still found absolutely nothing at all to blame it on. And here's the thing, guys, just real talk, like let's clear all the knowledge out of our head super quick. We'll bring it back in a second. Just go like, just on vibes. I want you to do a little experiment with me. If we replaced all of the junk food and mac and cheese and fried eggs and everything people are eating, donuts, ice cream, etc., we took out all the seed oils and we replaced all that with butter and cheese, do you guys think that like all of a sudden the obesity epidemic is gone? I mean, are you kidding me? You're going to see someone like at a restaurant taking...
It's different when you're underweight and trying to gain weight. Milkshakes are popular for ED treatment. Yeah, I totally get that. If you're underweight, it's the greatest invention of all time. I'm just so far removed from that side of the planet because I've never had a problem eating too little.
Huge chunk, big cut fries, the delicious ones, and dipping them into like cheese sauce and then mayo and then ketchup, why not? And putting them down the gullet by the pounds. And you're like, hey, sir, I'm just concerned. Are there seed oils in there? Like, this is all seed oil free, man, regular animal fat. And they're like, oh, carry on. My God.
Yeah,
you must
tallow fat. That's going to fix it.
We care about your health. Stop looking for little tiny nuances that can excuse you out of eating junk food. You want to eat nasty shit. I get it. I do too. I love it. Mac and cheese with all that crap on top, French fries, burgers. It tastes amazing. But it's because it tastes amazing. It's because it's loaded with calories, because you overeat it. That's why you get fat and unhealthy. It's not the seed oils, folks. We didn't lost that football on the way to the you know what I'm saying, on the way to go and get the touchdown with it. We just fumbled somewhere. It's not around. It just doesn't make any sense. So the more we keep focusing on seed oils, the more we miss out on the fact that, like, it's just a bunch of the junk you're eating. Joe Rogan makes his idea of seed oil is, I think, in my opinion, quite wrong. But he also makes a great point. Is it gets all that pasta you're eating. He's not talking about bodybuilding pasta. He's not talking about a little bit of olive oil and some dill and then a bunch of spaghetti with like some clean chicken on the, no, hell no. We're talking about Alfredo, fettuccine, Parmesan, carbonara, that stuff. That's just a ton of really awesome food you're going to cram down and gain weight. That's how that works. It's the tons of food that's super tasty, that's junky, that we're eating all the time. That's what it is, fellas. I wish it was different.
Ignore a skewed system of subsidies and make these unnatural, ultra-processed foods cheap.
The subsidies thing is the real thing.
Yes.
Subsidies absolutely do occur.
I agree.
They're a money pit. And almost all economists agree that food subsidies are a gigantic waste of time.
Wait, I wouldn't say they're a gigantic waste of time. Okay, hold on now. I don't know about that, but I do think that what we are subsidizing has played a major role in what goes into the food.
I have to say, politically, because RFK does work in a Republican administration, the vast majority of the states that have food subsidies signed into law are Republican voting red states in the farming areas of the United States. You guys want to cancel farming subsidies, you're going to have to go up against that. I think it's a good idea to go up against it because farming subsidies are absolutely absurd on every economic analysis. But that's a Republican problem in many cases. Now, look, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm very independent.
No, I know he's not talking about SNAP, dude. I'm saying that, like, food subsidies in general are a part of are a very important part of central planning. Okay, it's the American way of doing it, which is not putting the public interest in mind, or even necessarily the actual industry in mind. It usually goes in the opposite direction, where the industry leads the central planning. He's talking about ag subsidies. Yes, there's no issue with agricultural subsidies, guys. What are we talking about? Like, you think fruits and vegetables are expensive right now? Remove subsidies out of the equation and see what that shit looks like. What are you talking about? I don't think there's a single country on the planet that does not get some semblance of subsidies from a federal organized body that maintains food prices at the level that they are. I work in ag subsidies. They're laying us off anyways. Well, yeah, there's also that too. Anyway, let's continue.
Mostly libertarian. I'm for freedom and getting rich and all that other good stuff. But you got to call a spade at some point. Like, there's your people preventing this. So get to it. There is no conspiracy. It's just a lot of farmers and farming corporations that like free money. So they're pro-subsidy. And anytime you try to push back against them, they're like, oh, you're against the American farmer and you're risking our food supply. It's actually in reverse. But that is what it is. So it's not like some kind of giant conspiracy over there. It's actually very, very straight up that they just want more stuff and want a less competitive environment. That being said, I'm all for it. Removing subsidies would be great. However, if you remove subsidies for corn syrup and stuff like that, the mega food conglomerates like McDonald's and Kraft Foods, et cetera, they still have to make all the same junk food you're buying because, drum roll, you keep buying it. And they're going to want to make it as cheap as possible. So yeah, they might have to increase some of their prices by 5 or 10 cents here or there, or 20 or 30 cents here or there. But after finding alternative sources and ramping production and scaling on that, they're going to bring the prices back down anyway. So it's like a very temporary solution. Now, of course, subsidies are a giant waste of money, and we could be using that money in 50 other different ways, including in just taxing Americans less and giving everyone who's hardworking back more money. But at the same time, it's not going to be this thing that like resolves the problem. Remember, the genesis, the very seed of the problem is that that's right, you and me like to eat really tasty foods that have tons of calories for really cheap, that are really convenient. Capitalism is going to vector all the arrows down to that. You can't cancel capitalism because then your phone doesn't work and your car doesn't work and there's no food and everyone's starving to death. That's not an option. We got to work on ourselves and be like, what kind of choice?
Socialism is when no phone. Oh God. Yeah. Well, again, in terms of political economy, Dr. Mike and I are on the exact opposite. We are diametrical opposites.
Do we want to make? Can we take some pharmacology? Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not. Can we exercise a bit more? Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not. Can we pick the right kinds of foods at the store and tell ourselves we're mostly going to be eating healthy foods and we're going to care about our weight? Yeah, probably.
He's right. No matter how bad it sounds, no matter where you are, you have to make better choices in America. It's impossible. Okay. Yeah. Again, it doesn't come down to personal choice. Okay. Like, it's just not that simple. That's just not how human beings operate. That's it. Okay. This is why I get mad when people yell at me for saying calories in, calories out and misunderstand the point that I'm making. Because at the end of the day, it's not just like, oh, well, I chose not to eat. Like, that's not how it works. Okay. That's not how this works at all. If that was the case, then there would be no need for government. There would be no need for regulation. There would be no need for rules. Oh, it's just my personal choice. Just make the personal choice to don't not eat, okay? Or make the personal choice to eat healthier alternatives or, consume less calories every single day. That's ridiculous, okay? That's not how society works. That's not how human beings work. And that's not how the government works. There would be no reason for the government to exist if that was the case. I think that is a more idealistic worldview than the way that right-wingers consider socialists to be. Okay. I also listen to the public health man. The government needs to regulate the damn density of sugar in drinks and food, not eliminate it. But if you decrease sugar by 1 gram, you change health for thousands. I mean, that is the entire thing with the government. Yes. If the government regulated certain aspects of the way food is made, okay, if there were better restrictions, for example, even if it was marginal, it would dramatically improve people's lives. Okay? Straight up. Leftists want us to eat turds. Yeah. The solution to crime is people need to control themselves. Exactly. I think a big chunk of this comes from subsidies at the end of the day. And certainly corn plays a big role in this. Okay? And a big part of the process is like what kind of foods are readily available for cheap and how the healthier alternatives are infinitely more costly. Like the way I eat is unimaginably healthy. Okay. I use a food scale to make sure that I know what my protein intake looks like, what my daily calories look like, okay, as close as I possibly can get. But I can only do that because I'm a Twitch streamer. And I can also, instead of drinking a milkshake from McDonald's or whatever, go and get like a tasty alternative, a tasty protein shake as an alternative, okay? That is readily available to me because I have more money. That's it. Bro's a little too quirked up about his diet. I mean, yeah, I am. Having said that, however, I was also able to do this when I was broke too. But it was significantly harder.
Probably, but that whole idea of like, well, as soon as you get rid of subsidies, millions of Americans will get leaner. Like, yeah, they would if they trained right to gain muscle. But there's so much complexity to it. What exercises to choose, what sets and reps to do, how much weight to lift, and how to structure your weekly plan. So much uncertainty that it's easy to get overwhelmed. The RP Hypertrophy app removes all uncertainty and makes the training process precisely defined. Choose your pre-made workout plan from dozens available in the app, plug in your weights, and the app takes care of the rest for months of productive training. Ready? Click on the link in the description
Fat people, Hasanabi, act like you can't die from starvation. What?
of this video to get started. Overeating hyper tasty foods that have tons of calories is the reason we have an obesity epidemic. That's that node, the central core governor of what's going on. And unless you got something for that, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
They ignore chemical contamination from pesticides that is wreaking havoc on our body.
Pesticides have been studied into the ground by professional toxicologists. And I would Google or ask ChatGPT or ask Grok, What do professional toxicologists think about pesticides and their effect on health? We've studied this in the ground. Mass pesticide exposure explains almost no variance in almost anything. Can we reduce our pesticide exposure a little bit for a little bit more gain? Yeah, probably, just by a tiny bit. But the idea that pesticides are causing mass health maladies and are somehow related to obesity is just a non-starter. We've already looked into it in insane amounts. And if you want to look into yourself, the empirical...
I think a big part of the pesticides problem is not even immediately in the food that we consume, which I don't think RFK gives a shit about, even though there are, I think, some pesticides that are very dangerous and we just don't necessarily give a shit. But it's more so the ecological disaster that it causes. Like, it's just destroying the ecosystem. It's not RFK, it's the worm talking. Pesticides, the worm demands less pesticides.
Empirical data is crystal clear. I would love it, guys. I would love it. I have no specific...
I didn't think that I would be on RFK Jr. and the worms. I wouldn't think that I would take the worms side on this one over Dr. Mike Israetel, but I think, yeah. I mean, I'm not like anti-pesticides across the board, but I think that there is a lot of damage that is doing to the delicate ecosystems and most likely to our bodies as well. I'm pro-worm now. Holy
specific attachment to agro businesses. I have no specific attachment to pesticide manufacturing corporations. I don't like the idea of eating pesticides any more than anybody else. So
I don't know if the pesticides are related to obesity, though. It's not.
I'm not here to try to say pesticides are great. You should have as many of them as possible. No. It's just the reality that while, like many of you watching, I would want to blame one single factor or some simple ones. Like if we just notice RFK's thing is removing things. We remove the seed oils. We remove the artificial ingredients. We remove the pesticides and we remove food subsidies. And all of a sudden we're going to really make a huge dent on the obesity epidemic. Bullshit. That's just not going to happen because it hasn't stood up to the evidence and we've collected a ton. What is going to reduce obesity is drugs that help people control their food drive, and then working with people on expressing their conscientiousness more to make better choices, and maybe some other regulatory stuff on a little bit of that 20% side. This is really going to be what's going to do obesity in. It's sure not going to be any of those things. If it was going to be those things, I would be in the first saying to be like, get rid of, trans fats were pretty bad for you. We got rid of them. I think that was a great decision. Trans fats. Seed oils are not trans fats and neither are artificial flavoring. This just ain't it. I wish it was. It's not. Folks, there is still more video to come. However, we do have a members section where you get a much more expanded version of this video with tons of my BS politically incorrect points inserted and more science and knowledge and tons of other informative videos that come up basically weekly to get you guys going. We got training vlogs from myself and Jared. We got the whole thing. So give the members area a shot. Link up to buy. Otherwise, let's get back to the video.
I do. I take a lot of vitamins. I can't even list them to you here because I couldn't even remember them all, but I take a ton of vitamins and nutrients.
I don't have a problem with this at all. I think it's great. But just to make something very clear, almost all vitamins and nutrients are much less regulated than foods and way less regulated than drugs. And he's for removing poisons from the foods. And he's pretty anti-drug in the sense of, like Ozempic and tirzepatide and stuff like that and various other drugs, vaccines. And at the same time, he's taking supplements he doesn't even remember what they're called. And they're not regulated nearly as extremely. And I'm not saying regulation is a good thing. As all the other things he thinks aren't as regulated enough. So it's kind of curious, like why supplements are just chemicals. Guys, they're all just drugs all the way down the line. Your body does not discriminate. It treats everything as a chemical because it's a chemical. So this whole idea of, but I take tons of supplements, but the drugs are bad is nonsense. It's straight up nonsense. Forgive me.
I'm on an anti-aging protocol from my doctor that includes testosterone replacement.
That's cool. Scott, he looks like TRT grandpa, doesn't he? Yeah. A little redder than average, but more jacked and kind of more alive looking. Yeah.
And but I don't take any steroids. I don't take any anabolic steroids or anything.
Okay, so testosterone is an anabolic steroid, but that's just being pedantic.
TRT I use is bioidentical to what my body produced.
False. The TRT you use is almost certainly either pegged with an enanthate ester or a cypionate ester so that it can be really slow to release and give you a similar kind of release that your testicles would. If you're shooting bioidentical testosterone, it's testoester, TNE, and then it peaks in your blood after like 30 minutes or an hour and then falls back down. So you would have like kind of effect, which is stupid. So it's actually not bioidentical. Just to be clear, it's just like, it's and testosterone in general is bioidentical to every other kind of testosterone, even artificial stuff, because testosterone is a very simple molecule to describe, and you can make it exactly the same way in a lab as you can inside of the testes of a rat. I still get my Scott. You get your TRT from rat testicles, right?
Absolutely. They're
where God intended. Someone's like, is that a thing of macadamia nuts? You're like, rat balls, actually. Oop, you want one? They're like, I'm actually quite good and missing out on test. All right, workout stuff. Finally.
Oh, who else? The Dothraki way. Let's go.
Anybody try.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Get it, Bobby.
Oh yeah, his name is Robert, so they call him Bobby. What do I think about this? I think that at RFK's age, being able to do pull-ups like this is absolutely ultra impressive and amazing. And I think very many Americans of his age, younger and older, should consider resistance training with as much diligence and focus as he does. I think this is awesome, awesome stuff. To be a pedant exercise scientist, which I am, he's missing the most growth promoting part of pull-ups by stopping short of that deep stretch. So we want to see him go lower and get a full stretch and a pause and then come all the way back up. Even halfway back up, but all the way down is better than the sort of more middle range halfway up stuff he's doing. So pull-up technique gets a C+. There's ways that you can get an A+, no problem. But the fact that he's in there grinding it hard and hanging around other older men that are shirtless. Scott, that guy back there sounds like a little TRT dad fantasy if I've ever seen it myself. So this is all really, really great stuff. Oh, the ultimate arbiter of a man, how much he can incline press for reps.
No, that's terrible. Please.
RFK.
Thank you. Please. This is what has been my biggest gripe with every single fitness, this is going to determine whether Dr. Mike is being honest or not. Every single fitness person I've talked to, okay, content creators and just like normie fitness guys alike, have loved this video. Okay? They love this video. Two things that I cannot stand in this video. One is redeemable, maybe. Pants at the gym. Okay? He's wearing jeans. What the f- are you doing? But the fact that he's putting up that much weight, that little weight rather, I love incline press. Okay? I think it's great. But the fact that he's putting up that little weight is crazy. Okay? He could be doing a significantly more impressive weight. He looks a lot stronger. He looks a lot stronger than the weight that he's putting up here. And everyone has said like, dude, that's so impressive. That's such an impressive lift. It's not, okay? It's not. For how much muscle mass he has and for how long he's been weightlifting at the age of like 71, okay? A 71-year-old guy that looks like that would be putting up insane numbers. You'd be shocked.
Scott, what is that bottom 2 inches there that really hurts people's egos so
Everyone
much?
hates it.
I mean,
you don't want to be slow down there either. Just get it off as fast as you
Boom.
can. Gotta go.
I don't care if my pec's coming with it. I got to get out of here. Yeah, folks, the best way to grow muscle is to go specifically into that bottom 2 inches, bring the bar all the way down to your chest, sink it in, get a big stretch for the pecs. And even if you don't want to lock it out all the way, that's way better than doing the lock it all the way like RFK is doing, but not coming quite down. Other than that, his cadence, his control, the amount of weight he's using is very, very good. You see he's got his feet stapled right there to the pad. He's not wobbly. This is a very good technique. He could just use a little bit more motion in the ocean on the weight.
I think, yes, you could do more motion, but I also think the weight is like, people glaze the weight for no reason. That is lower weight. That is lower weight than he could do. I don't know why people act like he's putting up an incredible amount of weight.
Now. Yeah. Another thing really quick, just to be a dick, mostly for teaching purposes, you guys will see he's pushing it up as hard as he can, but he brings it down fast. That's the opposite of what you want to do for safety and maximum growth. So for safety and maximum growth, you probably want to control the descent a little bit. Then when you touch your chest, then you can explode, and then control your descent a little bit, and then you can explode. He's doing it backwards. I would like to see this reversed.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Oh, wow, another one.
Up, 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 up.
So he's doing forced reps. Can forced reps help you get a little bit more muscle growth squeezed out of any set? Yeah, totally. They cost your training partner some time. Is it totally fine to like just do a bunch of reps, rack the bar when you're close to fail, rest for 10 seconds, then do a few more reps? Yes. Does that accomplish roughly the same thing as forced reps? Yes. Probably even a little bit more growth. And so just two different ways to skin a cat. Hey, push-ups. So he's going all the way down. He's coming up about halfway or 2/3. This is a really, really good way to do push-ups. If he just controlled that descent a little bit more, this would be an A+. So I call this a B+ push-up, maybe A-. This is really good stuff. You don't have to lock out all the way. It turns out your muscles grow really well if you don't lock out all the way, but you do have to come down as low as you can, and he sure is here. Also, damn, Scott, he's kind of jacked, huh?
He's a jacked old man.
RFK, and he's got all that power. My God. What am I saying? Am I a young woman who's attracted to older politician men? Yes. That's how I identify. Respect my identity. All right. So RFK's pronouncements on nutrition. So like I give RFK a solid B for fitness. Some good stuff in there, room for improvement, but he's trying, and I think he's a really great role model for older folks. I think the fact that he's doing an anti-aging protocol and that he's doing some TRT and stuff, I think is awesome. Taking some supplements.
Watching a guy analyze another guy's analyzation of another guy's legit the gayest thing I've ever done in my life. Don't worry. We can go one step further. Yeah, I think he agreed with RFK Jr. more than I thought he would, to be fair. Sipping on my bottle of seed oils as I'm watching this. Walkable cities do a lot to improve fitness. Oh my God. Go train with RFK, hit him up. Very disappointing video from Mike. Expected better, but I guess he can't go hard considering the backlash some chubs would have. I don't think he's holding back. I think this is just what he believes. So it might be more disappointing for you, I think.
That's great. On his ideas about the food system and all that stuff, you know, I have to rate him kind of like a C-, D+. There's elements of truth to almost everything he says. But the overall picture is most obesity is caused by a combination of having high food drive.
You're fat, so like, why talk? Are you talking about me? You think I'm fat?
Having lower conscientiousness.
Are you okay, dude?
And having access to...
Like, I'm on camera right now. You can see.
Super cheap, super tasty, ubiquitously available, ultra convenient foods, like junk foods. That's really kind of the picture. Chemical stuff, various additions of fillers and high fructose corn syrup and seed oils and things like that. They've been studied into the ground. They're just not explaining the obesity epidemic, and they're not explaining our big problem with chronic health. That has other explanations that I listed in this video. So I just wouldn't get overall general health advice from...
Do you like RFK? No, I don't. He's anti-medicine, and he has a lot of kooky ideas. RFK Jr. does all of the worst things that conservative conspiracy theorists do, which is actively identify real problems, okay, and get very close to identifying real solutions to it, and then miss the mark so hard that you're literally worse than the average person that just refuses to examine the issues at all. Okay? I don't know how the they do this so goddamn consistently. It almost feels like there's a brainworm controlling him or something. I don't know what it is. Like I said, I think his anti-medicine takes are insane, and the fact that he's now in charge of the HHS is terrifying. I think he is probably going to be one of the most damaging in the Trump administration in terms of overall public health and safety. Can you give us an example? Yeah, he wants to limit SSRIs, and he doesn't like Ozempic or most medication, really. He's also a anti-vaxxer. What are we talking about? Literally anything he has said, virtually everything he has said about medicine is like borderline insanely dangerous. Like, we are doomed territory. And then some are like, I guess granola mom holistic.